Well, it's winter in New England, and because we keep our van's RV12 in an unheated T-hanger, we decided to install a Reiff preheater system. Now, the Reiff system is pretty simple. It uses a heating pad that's epoxied to the bottom of the crankcase, and also a heating band that wraps around the oil tank. There's also a thermostat that mounts underneath the oil tank to keep the oil from heating more than 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the installation is pretty simple, but preparation is critical. Here's a look at how it gets installed on a Rotax 912 ULS. Now, if you operate a Rotax 912 series engine in a cold climate, you know it can take forever for the oil temperature to reach 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the magic temperature you want to obey before coming on with the power for the before takeoff run-up. No more than 2,500 RPM unless the temperature comes up. That wastes time and fuel, and even in sub-freezing temperatures, electronic ignition on a 912 might not even fire the spark plugs unless the starter cranks the engine at a 220 RPM or more crankshaft speed. Now, the standard Reiff system includes a silicone 50-watt hot band that clamps around the base of the oil tank and a 100-watt hot strip that bonds to the bottom of the case using supplied Aremco epoxy in a bag epoxy. You could also use JB Weld epoxy 8265S. Now, when applying the epoxy, it's all about surface preparation and properly mixing and curing the epoxy. Now, Reiff warns that any surface paint must be stripped, and both the surface of the case and the heating pad has got to be scuffed with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then you clean it off with acetone or alcohol. Now, once the epoxy is well kneaded and the bag is open, you got to work fast. Put on your surgical gloves, goop it on sparingly, because the ideal thickness of the hot band surface is 3 sheets of paper, or 0.010 inches. There's plenty of epoxy supplied to also bond the small thermostatic sensor to the underside of the oil tank. Now, the Aremco epoxy fully cures in roughly 48 hours at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and the JB Weld will cure in about 24 hours. Now, it was too late for those temperatures in mid-November, so we had to put a blanket over the engine, and we stuck a heating lamp on the floor below it. And that measured 80 degrees worth of ambient temperature after sitting all night. It was just enough to cure the epoxy enough so we could connect the thermostat, both heating elements, to the supplied wiring harnesses. Now, the harnesses and connectors supplied with the Reiff system are high quality. They're white Molex, and there's plenty of it harnessed to neatly connect the components together and for making service loops. We routed the AC plug over the top of the oil tank so it's accessible when opening the upper cowling oil check door. There's also a ground wire you've got to connect to the engine. Now, at an ambient temperature of 23 degrees Fahrenheit and plugging the air inlets with cowl plugs or tennis balls, stuffing a towel in the oil cooler inlet, and covering the cowling with a blanket, the standard system heats the 912's oil temperature to 96 degrees Fahrenheit in about 12 hours. Plug in the heater at least 3 to 5 hours before starting the engine, but 10 to 12 hours offers maximum heating. Now, you really don't want to keep the Reiff system plugged in all the time without flying fairly often, and Reiff even adds a caveat that continuous heating during long periods of aircraft inactivity isn't really recommended, nor does it advocate continuous preheater use as a means to prevent corrosion in inactive engines. Now, we plan to fly our plane regularly, unless the weather tanks for long periods, as it often does in New England. The standard 150-watt Reiff system is $305. It's $475 for the 250-watt system and $630 for the 350-watt system. Now, the system also fits the Rotax 914 series engines. And we'll check back after a winters of use and report back on the system's reliability. For Experimental Aviator, I'm Larry Anglisano. Thanks for watching.